All right, today eNCA is bringing you a special focus on COVID-19 and the impact that it has had on the classroom. Pupils in the Eastern Cape are dealing with a double blow. Learning disruptions continue for a second year now due to the pandemic. In addition, a dire shortage of teachers has turned the Eastern Cape education system on its head. To discuss the crisis, I'm joined now by the province's education spokesperson, that's Vuyiseka Mboxela. Thank you so much for joining me, Vuyiseka. So let's start with the disruptions brought on by COVID-19. At the best of times, before the pandemic and the disruptions introduced by the pandemic, the Eastern Cape had quite a bit to worry about in terms of education outcomes. How severe has the situation become in the wake of COVID-19?
Thank you very much, Thulas, and greetings to the viewers of eNCA at home. Firstly, we must say that we have to be honest and tell the truth as it is. COVID-19 has given all of us new experiences, and reality is in the education sector, we had to try to live with its own conditions, and amongst those was to make sure that we introduce a new culture in our own learners whom they're still battling to accept the realities of COVID-19. But as you have already said, Thulas, it has not been an easy road since last year until now, but the work that is being done by the department in partnership with social partners has been the one that is commendable. And I can say that disruption has always been in line with how COVID-19 just generally in the country is performing. For an example, when we're opening in this last quarter that we're in, we had almost like 89 schools that were affected by COVID-19, a number that was attributed to 1,200 in terms of individual infections. But as of today, we've got a total number of 21 schools that have been reporting to our different districts in the province to have been affected by COVID-19, and individual infection is at 543. But again, the strides that were made just generally by the sector of health in making sure that all our teachers, 50,700 in the Eastern Cape, they have vaccinated. And now we are just crossing our fingers that the vaccination program can go and accommodate the learners that are at a bit of a lower grade. But in terms of age, when we look at the 18 to 35 cohort that has been called, it therefore means that many of our own grade 12s this year, they are eligible to be vaccinated, and we're making that call that they mustn't be hesitant, they must take the jab. All of us who have taken, and nothing much has changed in our own lives because it is also for their safety.
Quick confirmation, did you just say that all 100% of your teachers have been vaccinated?
We are in actual fact, in terms of percentage, we're at 94 because we are 50,700 on the last day that the vaccination was taking place in the province. So we are comfortable with that number because you'd understand that there are those that might not really even want to take the jab for certain reasons. Others that are religious, right. Others that are with different sentiments that they have. But with the number that as a sector, we are a bit comfortable.
Vuyiseka, there's the hardware conversation about infrastructure being able to respond to, the new learning environment, be it remotely or in school, and we can have that conversation in a moment. But I want us to start with the software conversation. What is the impact of this intermittent learning environment on numeracy, literacy among the young people, and how are you mitigating that particular aspect?
Actually, Thulas, let's also be frank and honest to you and the viewers. It has not been very easy because you would understand that now you have to deal with a differentiated timetable. And when you talk of a differentiated timetable, it therefore means that you're talking about a person that must teach just one lesson in 3 classes, what that person would have been using, teaching it once in a week. That's point number one. Point number two, just the cognitive development of learners is being impacted because you've got a learner now that would have been used to going to school Monday to Friday, that now must go to school between Monday, Wednesday, and even Saturdays. And that on its own, in terms of their own performance and in terms of their own growth and in terms of their own capturing of the curriculum delivery, we have a challenge. And it's not just a challenge that is peculiar to the Eastern Cape, because the reports that are even being made at a level of a DPE, they do indicate that if we don't try to come up with a lot of creativity, we might have a system that is not going to recover, because even the 3 recovery plan that was being put for, it has to be augmented now. But at least a sense of comfort that we have as a sector in the education in the Eastern Cape is that last year when we rolled out ICT, it did give us an indication that indeed it played a role in terms of the quality output because at least learners were able to continue with teaching whilst they're at home. But again, it also indicates that there is going to be a class question of between those who have means to provide for their own education and those that don't have, which will solely depend to government. And therefore, that's why the discussion is at a point to say, how do we make sure that irrespective of whether there's COVID or not, there is a rollout of the ICT that is taking place so that anytime teachers and learners can have that interaction, because we are at a phase where we're not certain of what is going to be the case in the next 3 years, but reality is teaching and learning in a society to be normal way, that is the teacher contact is likely to be continuously challenged, and it therefore means that everyone in the education sector has a responsibility to think out of the box, because not only the ICT can be the solution to what we are faced with.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time and your insights here on All Angles. Vuyiseka Mboxela speaks on behalf of the Department of Education in the Eastern Cape. Let's stay with the theme. If schools are not being broken into or vandalized, pupils simply pack up their bags and drop out. This is the devastating impact the coronavirus is making on the education sector.